Few minutes, we're going to be talking live with astronaut Nick Hague. So, why ARIS? How did we get involved in this program? So, last year, when we were thinking, what do we want to do for summer reading and learning programs here at the library? We thought it's the 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon this summer. So we thought, what is more exciting and interesting and timely than looking at space and learning all about the science, technology, engineering, and math skills that make missions to the moon and missions to Mars and space exploration possible? So we learned about the Amateur Radio on the International Space Station program, which is through NASA. So every week, somewhere in the world, kids just like you get this opportunity to talk to a live astronaut on the space station. So you apply to be a part of the program, and we put together a long list of exciting activities to get kids interested in learning about space exploration, amateur radio, and all of those science and technology concepts that make this possible. So for the last couple months, we've had several exciting programs, and we've invited the kids that have been participating in them to submit the questions that they'll ask today. So we had an astronomy adventure where we learned how to build telescopes, discovered constellations, made a model of the solar system, and learned about the phases of the moon. With Little Bits, which are tiny little circuits, we made models of the International Space Station and learned about satellite communication. And with Snap Circuits, which you can actually use out there in the lobby today too, we also learned about radio communication and the difference between AM and FM and how all of those radio waves get transmitted to sound. We also had a robotics camp where kids were invited to use hummingbird robotics kits and build models of Mars rovers that could sense life on a different planet. So they were 3D printing models and coding them to be able to sense hot and cold. It was really exciting. But we also got to talk to a NASA engineer who works on Mars exploration. So he came and told us all about the work that they do for the upcoming Mars exploration that they're going to launch just later this month. But after today, we have several more opportunities. If you haven't gotten a chance to participate in any of those events, you can sign up for our space camp. We still have a couple spots. There's going to be a big celebration on the July 20th for the anniversary of the moon landing. We'll have activities. And you'll also have a chance to learn about amateur radio, which is how all of this is possible. So our local Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club is going to be talking about what is ham radio next Monday at 6 p.m. And then we'll also have the opportunity where you can cram for the test to become a licensed ham radio operator yourself. So with that, I want to thank a few people that made this possible. And first, that is the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. All of the equipment that we've used today to make this possible, they've donated, as well as many hours of their time. It took a lot of technical know-how and a lot of trial and error to make this possible for us to communicate with the space station, and they all donated our time. We also have a mentor through the Amateur Radio on the International Space Station who helped facilitate the communication with NASA and guided us through the process, and that was very helpful. And then I want to give a shout out to the youth services staff that spearheaded this event. Holly, our children's librarian, and Taylor, one of our library technicians who does a lot of the after-school STEAM programming with kids, worked on a lot to make all of these events happen. And then, of course, I want to thank our library director, Jessica Cadiente, who, when I said, hey, can we put some radio equipment on the roof and contact the space station, she didn't tell us no. And then, and then also, of course, Paul Casey, our city administrator, who's here today to join in the event with us for all of his support of the library department. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Levi with the Amateur Radio Club, and he's going to tell you a little bit about them.
Thanks, Molly. Hello? Okay. My name is Levi Maya. My amateur radio call sign's K6LCM. I'm a Santa Barbara resident and a member of the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. I also serve on the Amateur Radio on the International Space Station's U.S. Education Committee. We're an international working group sponsored by NASA and space agencies across the world, and we connect students with astronauts aboard the International Space Station using amateur radio. In fact, the amateur radio equipment aboard the space station was the first working payload on the International Space Station more than almost 20 years ago. And since then, thousands of students around the world have had the opportunity to contact the space station. It's particularly exciting for me to share this incredible experiment with my friends and neighbors here in my own backyard in Santa Barbara. NASA currently plans to end funding for the International Space Station in 2025, and after that, the fate of ISS is uncertain. So it's really quite a unique opportunity to be able to do this here today. We are looking forward to potentially launching a space station into lunar orbit in the next few years. You may have heard about the U.S.'s initiative to return humans to the lunar surface, and so we're hoping that we'll have an opportunity to put amateur radio equipment in lunar orbit and possibly on the lunar surface. So there's much more to come in the future, even though the International Space Station project may be sunsetting. We're particularly fortunate to have this contact opportunity coincide this summer with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin's first steps on the lunar surface 50 years ago. ARIS is an important part of the space station's STEM outreach and education program, especially considering the fact that the first person to walk on Mars is probably not even in high school yet. She might even be one of the students who's coming up here today to ask questions. So we hope these events inspire the next generation of scientists, engineers, dreamers, and explorers. I want to thank my colleagues at ARIS and AMSAT and the incredible Santa Barbara Library staff, the City of Santa Barbara, and of course, members of my radio club, Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club, who've made this contact possible. I think this is the 4th contact for Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club here in Santa Barbara. Is that right, Ken? Yes. And if you'd like to learn more about ARIS or amateur radio activities happening here in Santa Barbara, you can contact me and visit the club website. It's SBARC, that's Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club, SBARC.org. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Norm Thorne, our technical mentor for this project. Thanks, Norm.
Thank you, Levi. And I just want to emphasize that this is all done by amateur radio operators. And if we could have all the amateur radio operators in the room stand up, show you how many of us there are. There are a lot of us that went into putting this together, and I'm one of them. And we appreciate all the help they've done setting this up. What we have for you here, we've basically set up a control center, kind of like they have at NASA, only a little mini one, where over here we're tracking and now it doesn't work. There we go. Thank you. Over on this display, we have a map of the world, and this white spot right here is where the space station is right now. The X in the middle is right where it is, and this white spot around it is how much of the Earth it can see at any one time. So we're tracking it. It's moving at a speed of 17,000 miles an hour. And it'll be coming across this way and coming by here on the west coast where we are. That little X is where we are. And as soon as that white touches the X, we're likely to be able to start talking to them. So it'll happen at a very precise time. We have to wait for them because we can't hear them until they come over the horizon. So be keeping an eye on that, and you'll see exactly where they are at any one time. So now I'm going to show a little bit of a video about what you're going to be seeing, and these are some students that will be telling you about the event that's coming up.
Hi, my name is Ruth. And my name is Chris. You must be pretty excited to talk directly with astronauts on the International Space Station today. While we're waiting for the space station to come over your portion of the sky, let's talk a little bit about how it's going to happen. Of course, Mission Control is in contact with astronauts all the time, using a big radio with lots of fancy equipment.
However, we're going to be using something very different today. We are going to use ham or amateur radio to talk directly to the International Space Station.
When most people hear the word radio, they think of a music radio station, but it's so much more than that. Radio actually refers to the unseen energy that transmits all sorts of signals using electromagnetic waves. At first, people learned how to send signals like Morse code, and then they discovered you can send so much more, like data, computer signals, and even TV.
Maybe you don't realize it, but you use radio every day. Maybe you watched the TV this morning, or you texted your friends, or maybe even you check social media like Twitter or Instagram.
Let's travel back to space for a minute. Since the beginning of the space age, humans have sent many spacecraft out into the universe. These range from the Hubble Space Telescope, orbiting the Earth daily, and the Curiosity rover exploring Mars. We've even sent a long-distance messenger, the Voyager 1, who has traveled outside of our solar system.
Whether it's capturing a great picture of a far-off galaxy or conducting experiments on the space station, radio has to do with all of these. And today, you're going to be using ham radio. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is ham radio?
Amateur or ham radio is a service and a hobby where operators can talk to people around their neighborhoods, their cities, their country, and even around the world. Amateur radio operators require a radio license from the government. They're not that hard to get. I have one. My call sign is KM4LAO.
And mine is KD8YBJ. Our call signs are a way of identifying who we are to other operators. This lets everyone know that we have the proper license to using the radio.
As amateur radio operators, or hands as we are often called, we can talk with others about basically whatever we want, often science or some new radio gadget that we are interested in.
Let's focus back to the space station and your contact today. Many of the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station are licensed ham radio operators. That's why your operators today can contact us. The people here, as well as the astronauts, are licensed to talk to each other, and you are allowed to talk over to their radio.
For our conversation today, we'll need an amateur radio station on the ground, either in this location or somewhere else around the world. We'll also need a radio in the space station.
Anyone at that? Anyone at that?
You can hear the calls coming. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, the International Space Station, over.
On the space station, the radio transceiver is connected to an amateur radio antenna mounted on the outside. One of these antennas will be used today during our contact.
For our side of the contact, we need a good-sized antenna, a signal amplifier, something to make our signal stronger, and a rotator for turning our antenna. We have to keep our antenna pointed right at the International Space Station. And remember, it's moving across the sky and fast.
To aim the antenna properly, we need to track the path of the space station exactly. NASA uses complex systems to track the path of the space station and other orbiting objects.
The satellite tracking program we are using works out a complicated set of mathematics to provide the orbital location of the space station, moment by moment as it moves through space. This information is sent to the computer that controls the antenna rotator, which moves the antenna to follow the space station. Maybe some of you have seen or worked with robotics. That's pretty cool stuff. And just like you can program a robot where to go, what to do, and how to get there, you can also program a computer to tell an antenna how to track the space station across the sky.
You know, it took a lot of planning to get this contact. Several weeks ago, the ARIS operations team had to figure out when the space station's orbit would pass over this location. Then, they had to talk with the planners at NASA's Johnson Space Center. The cruise time is pretty full, and they were able to find a time that worked for the crew members' schedules. Once they found times that would work both in space and here on the ground, the host organized this contact. And in just a few minutes, you'll be hearing and talking to the astronauts.
Well, it's almost time for your contact. It will be exciting, so good luck with it.
Okay, so we have a big event coming up real soon. These are the students that are going to be asking the questions. In just a second, I'll hand it over to you to introduce those. First, I wanted to ask you, or let you know that one of the things that amateur radio operators do when they end a radio transmission or a series of transmissions, They like to say 73s. That means best wishes to the other end. So at the very end of this, I'm going to ask all of you in the audience to talk on the radio from where you are and just yell out 73s. And that's how we say goodbye. So as soon as it starts fading, the radio will start fading and we won't hear them very well. They hear us better than we hear them. So they'll still hear us when we say 73s. So right now, if you'd like to introduce the students. Okay, yes, let's practice once right now. Would you all say 73s as loud as you can? 1, 2, 3. 73s! Excellent. Good job.
All right, so we're here to introduce the students who have been practicing their radio that are going to ask the questions of the astronauts. All right. So first up we have Evie, who's right here. We have Jacob, Jenna, Jacob, Annika, Thiago, Zen, Mackenzie, Griffin, Emmett, Connor, and Zeke. Oh, Connor and Zeke. Sorry, are you guys? Oh, we guys switched. Okay. All right, we're in the right order though. Okay, excellent. So can we give them all a big round of applause? All right, so we are counting down just a couple more minutes until we'll be live with the International Space Station and astronaut Nick Hague.
Okay, we're coming up on the time. The time right now is 10:49. And at 10:54 and a little bit, we're going to start calling and talking, letting them know we're here. And hopefully they'll answer. So in the meantime, I wanted to show you that this picture up here is a picture of our antenna on the roof. And during the event, as soon as they get it within range, that's going to start moving, tracking them across the sky. It's going to be moving like this from one side to the other. And this pass is only going to be 49 degrees, which means it's only going to be about this big an angle. Sometimes we get it almost overhead. This time we only get 49 degrees, and we get a few seconds less time, but we get as much as we can out of that. So watch the time up here, and we have about 4 minutes until the event actually starts. So I think I'm going to let you guys start listening. Brian, you're going to be on this one? Good. Thank you very much. We'll be starting here in just a minute. You'll hear it all happen.
Okay. And we're up? Yeah. Excellent.
Hello, everybody.
Excellent. What am I hearing? Okay. "52 minutes."
And everyone, I just want to ask that when we start contact, if everyone can be as
53
quiet
minutes.
as they can, so that we'll see. You guys can keep talking for a couple minutes, but once we have contact, so that everyone can hear. Yeah, and we'll hold our applause to the end, or any excitement that we want to let out.
All right, 54 minutes. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, Kilo 6 Tango Zulu. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, K60Z. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, Kilo 6 Tango Zulu. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, K60Z, over. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, K60Z. NA1SS, NA1SS, here is K60Z, K60Z, over.
Kilo 6 Tango Zulu. This is NA1SS. How copy?
All right, we got you, NA1SS. Here is K60Z. Here's our first question.
Hi, my name is Evie, and I am 6 years old, and I am substituting for Emily. What's the most interesting thing that you have seen while you were on the space station? Over.
Well, hello everyone today, and thank you for that question. Without doubt, the most interesting thing that I see from the space station since I've been here is when I look out the window and I see the Earth. Every time I look outside, I see something new that I didn't know was down there. It just tells me how special of a planet we're on. Over.
Hi, my name is Jacob, and I'm 6 years old, and I'm subbing for Jolyn. Have you found any planets that we could live on? Over.
I love the question. So far, we have ideas of where we want to go, but we've got to get there and figure it out. And so that's why we're trying to go back to the moon and work and test out how we would live on another planet on the moon, because it's close. And then soon after that, we're going to go on to Mars, and we're going to figure out how to live on Mars. It's an exciting future. Over.
Hello, my name is Jenna, and I am 10 years old. My question is, how do you take a shower? Over.
Well, a shower like you think of it is not really something we can take up here because the water just floats everywhere. So we have to wet a towel and wipe ourselves down with a soapy wet towel and then dry ourselves off. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of like taking a sponge bath. Over.
Hello, my name is Jacob, and I'm 7 years old. Are pets and or animals allowed on the ISS? Over.
You know, Jacob, they are. We do allow animals up here because we're trying to study how space affects all living things. So we study how it affects humans, and we study all types of other animals, whether it's fruit flies or worms or fish or spiders or mice. We look at them all and try to see what the effects of floating around in microgravity are on the animals. Over.
Hello, my name is Anika. I am 8 years old. My question is, how do you survive, eat, and get a year's supply of food and water on the space station? Over.
Well, we survive through the help from the ground. So we get cargo up here every 3 months, or every month or so, we'll get another supply vehicle, and it brings us food and water and helps supply us with everything that we need. We do have the ability, and we're trying to test out how to grow our own food on orbit. And so we're almost a week away from harvesting some fresh lettuce up here. I can't wait. Over.
Hi, my name is Tiago. I'm 7 years old, and what does it feel like to be in space? Over.
The feeling of being in space. So everything floats around you. And because everything is floating, even the blood inside my body wants to float. And normally my heart wants to really push the blood up to my head so that my brain has lots of blood, and it fights gravity when I'm on the ground. But up here, it does that anyway. It doesn't know that it doesn't have to work that hard. So I end up having a little bit of a full head. So if you guys want to feel like you're in space, if you stand on your head and you can feel the blood rush to your head, then that's how I feel when I'm up here. Over.
Hi, my name is Zen, and I'm 7 years old, and my question is, what is it like to be weightless and float in space? Over.
Being weightless in space then changes everything. On the ground, you can put things down, you can turn your head around and look somewhere else, and they stay where you put them, so that when you turn back and you look and you try to find it, it's right where you put it. Up here, everything has a mind of its own, and it moves around pretty quiet, floats through the air, and so things can sneak up on you or they can slip away from you. It's a pretty fascinating place to be. Over.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and I am 9 years old. Has the ISS been hit by space debris? Over.
Mackenzie, it has. It's been hit lots of times by little things, fortunately. Nothing too big. When I did a spacewalk a few months ago, when I was walking or crawling on the handrails outside the space station, every now and then I'd come along a little hole in the metal handrail that had been drilled in by some piece of debris traveling really fast when it struck the space station. So space debris is real, and we have to be concerned about it. Over.
Hi, my name is Griffin, and I'm 9 years old. And my question is, what does the Earth look like from very far up? Over.
From up here, I can see in one view looking out the window, I can see all the way from Seattle to San Diego. I can see all of that, all at the same time, and everything in between. It's amazing. The Earth is all at the same time. It's really big, but I can still see so much of it, it feels small. Over.
Hi, my name is Emmett, and I'm 8 years old. What do you do in your life on Earth that you cannot do in space? Over.
Well, Emmett, that's why we're here, because there's one unique thing that brings us up here that scientists all over the world can't do on Earth. Up here, we have gravity. We have the absence of gravity. Down on the ground, we have gravity. So that's the really big difference. So anything that you can do on the ground that you need gravity for, I can't do it up here because everything is floating around me in microgravity. Over.
Hi, my name is Zeke. I'm substituting for Elizabeth. As your current orbit, do you have sunrise and sunset? How many hours of daylight do you have? Over.
We do. We have lots of sunrises and lots of sunsets. 16 of each to be precise every day. So I have about 45 minutes of darkness and 45 minutes of daylight. and we make 16 orbits around the Earth every day. Over.
Hi, my name is Connor. I'm substituting for Amalia. If the ISS is rebuilt, what would you do differently, and should another be built? Over.
You know, we really haven't ever stopped building the ISS. We started 20 years ago, and we've constantly been expanding it and adding new capabilities and testing out new systems and trying to do things better. And we're going to build another one. We're going to build a gateway out around the moon. And so we're going to take what we've learned here on the space station and apply those lessons when we build the gateway station. Over.
Hi, my name is Evie, and I'm 6 years old, and I'm substituting for Emily. Living in space or anywhere else other than Earth is very dangerous. Why not just send robots? Over.
You know, robots and humans explore space in cooperation. There are lots of things that robots should do because they are too dangerous for us, or they can go places that we can't. But there are things that humans can do when we explore that robots can't necessarily do. And so that's why we use both. At NASA, we use robots and humans to explore. Over.
Hi, my name is Jacob, and I'm 6 years old, and I'm subbing for Jolyn. Is it easy to get sick in space? Over.
You know, lots of people, when they first get into space, get what they call space adaptation sickness. And that makes you feel sick because your mind thinks that you're constantly spinning and you get dizzy and you get upset to your stomach. So it is easy to do that. Fortunately, it didn't happen to me, but it's pretty common. But fortunately, it also goes away after a few days. Over.
Hello, my name is Jenna and I am 10 years old. Do radio waves travel slower in space? Over.
Yep, these radio waves, part of the electromagnetic spectrum, travel the speed of light in space. Over.
Hello, my name is Jacob and I am 7 years old. How do astronauts use the restroom at the space station or when traveling to the space station? Over.
All right, NA1SS, this is K60Z. K60Z is clear. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. We'll have the activities in the library for another hour, and there's also going to be free lunch for kids under 18. And if you have any questions or want to talk to any of the ham operators, feel free. Thank you so much.